morning, everybody. What a beautiful day it is here in Sydney today. I hope it's equally as sparkling where you are. I got to go for a walk very early this morning and it really doesn't feel like winter. So this week we are going to be talking about small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, again, or SIBO for short. So I'm Ange Sinclair and I'm the digestive detective. So last week I talked about that it's not generally a well-recognized condition medically. So going to your doctor and asking about this will likely get a blank look, even though there are specific antibiotics that you can use for SIBO, that are specifically for SIBO. Most doctors don't yet know about SIBO or how to treat it. So last week I talked about some of the reasons that cause it and what it actually is. So if you haven't checked out last week's videos, please go back to the video section on this page and check it out. It will give you a really good understanding if you could have this condition, or it could be part of your symptom picture. Remember, about 80% of people that have IBS also have SIBO. So that's a really big amount. So I will recap today some of the most common symptoms I see in clinic. So feeling full after just a few bites, pain up under the ribs. I commonly hear is it's like someone's pulling a belt really tight, which is really painful. Reflux, and it's not related to the food you eat. You just seem to have reflux all the time. Bloating that gets worse by the end of the day. I often hear people saying that they feel like they've swallowed a basketball by the end of the day, or they have to change out of their pants for elastic waist pants because they're so uncomfortable. So constipation, diarrhea, or a combo of both. They're generally the biggest ones. Burping's another one. So if this sounds like you may want to get checked for SIBO. So what to do if you have these symptoms? So traditional protocols have you do a diet that restricts your carbohydrate intake for a very long time, around 6 to 8 weeks for the first phase, while they then bomb your bacteria with herbal antimicrobials. While this approach works, I see it does a lot of damage to people's large bowel. So then your small bowel's fixed, but then you have another problem. So I tend not to do that. I have a slightly different approach. So my protocol is a 60-day protocol, and I do 3 rounds of killing and 3 rounds of healing, and I do them alternately. I still kill the bacteria with supplements and herbs and antimicrobials and all that sort of thing. I still make you do the no joy diet, as I like to call it. And here's how I do it differently though. I get people to restrict their carbohydrate intake for as long as it takes for their bloating to go down. For some people that can be 3 days, some it's 10, some it's 7. So most people in the first week, in their first 10-day round, can reduce the can start changing their diet and bringing food back in within the first 7 to 10 days. As soon as that happens, as soon as their bloating is lowered, I then tend to bring back diversity into their diet, as I've seen this over-restriction become problematic for a lot of people. So some common problems I see when people are restricting foods. People lose a lot of weight, and I mean a lot of weight for some, and for some, if you're really skinny to start with, that's problematic. So the food choices are pretty basic. It's difficult to stick to for a long period of time. It's also really difficult if you have high histamine, which means you get a rash or you get headaches or things like that. So it's pretty difficult to stick to over the long term if you have high histamine. The other time I see it's really difficult is if you're vegan or vegetarian. And I do see that vegans and vegetarians do take a lot longer to get results, just because you need to continue eating the foods that would otherwise be taken out, because it's a very, very meat-heavy diet. So being vegan or vegetarian, you're still going to have to eat some of the foods that will feed that bacteria. So it's just a matter of balancing that. The last thing that I see a lot is fatigue. And I mean that because you're just having minimal carbohydrates, we need some carbohydrates for our glucose and energy production. So I see lots and lots of fatigue, and not just that run-of-the-mill, oh yeah, I feel tired, that really deep-seated fatigue, struggle to get moving, struggle to get out of the bed in the morning. So I don't want people to have that fatigue for any longer than necessary, so I move them through it pretty quickly. So with SIBO, the most important thing to remember is that your bowel needs to keep moving. So while you have constipation, you will struggle with SIBO. So the other thing which is really helpful to prevent a relapse as well is you need to find the cause. And so once you find the cause, you can take the steps to correct it. In certain situations, you will be able to make changes. For example, if you've had adhesions from a surgery where the inside skin starts to form a little adhesion and gives you pain, you might be able to do visceral manipulation, which is a type of massage that breaks down that adhesion, and then that will help fix the cause. But if you've had your gallbladder removed and that's affected how your gastrointestinal tract sits, and you don't empty your bowel properly because of that, that's not so easy to fix. So finding the cause is always good, but you can't always do things about it. Endometriosis is another one. We can't, lots of women have endo, can't necessarily change the way the endo attaches to their bowel and that sort of stuff. So that's problematic. So some people know the cause, and I often hear, I had a bout of food poisoning and I've never been well since, or I took a double dose of this antibiotic and never been well since. This is likely to be the cause, and that cause can be corrected. So last week I had quite a few people book in for a free 15-minute consult to get the action plan of what to do next. So I would like to encourage you to do the same, so that you could get all the details, as you know, to know what to expect, because it is a difficult and interesting condition to treat, and it's quite an intense 60 days. So for those of you on Facebook, the link is above in the title. For those of you on Instagram, it's actually in my bio, and for those of you on LinkedIn, it's in my comments. So join me tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for Transformation Tuesday. I will be talking about a constipation SIBO case. So bye for now. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.